Okay, hi guys. Today we're dealing with topic 1 for term 2, which is price theory. Two basic principles of the price theory is demand and supply. We will be dealing with demand first. You need to understand utility. So utility means the usefulness of something. In other words, its ability to satisfy a human need or want. Then demand refers to the quantity or how much consumers are willing and able to buy at a specific price. It is important to note that demand is not just the willingness of somebody to purchase, but also their ability. In other words, do they have the money to do so? The law of demand dictates that when the price goes up, the quantity demanded goes down, and when the price goes down, the quantity demanded goes up. When we refer to a demand schedule, we actually saying that we've tabulated the price versus the quantity demanded in order to see the effects of price on demand. That as the price increases on the left-hand side, so the quantity demanded decreases on the right-hand side, showing you the law of demand. Demand curve shows the ratio between price and quantity demanded. The demand curve will always have a downward slope. In other words, it will go from the top and the left-hand side to the bottom and the right. The reason being, the higher the price, the lower the quantity, and the lower the price, the higher the quantity. Factors that influence demand varies greatly. If we look at price, if things are on sale, we tend to buy more of them. If they are not on sale, if they are more expensive, like when sugar tax came in, for example, we tend to start buying less of a product. If our income increases as consumers, if we have more money to spend afterwards, then we tend to buy more. Consumers' buying patterns, when you buy bread and milk every day when you go home, for example, the availability and price of substitute products. A good example here would be margarine versus butter. Availability and price of complementary products. So tomato sauce and Vienna's for those of you that eat hot dogs, for example. And then, of course, the necessity or luxury of the product. So let's say it's a necessity. We might buy less of it, but we won't completely stop buying it. For example, petrol. Whereas if it's a luxury, for example, a chocolate, they get too expensive, we can cut them out. There are several things that can affect the quantity demanded. So if we're looking at these graphs, we're looking at the prices of related goods increasing or decreasing, income levels increasing or decreasing, taste preferences, population, future prices of goods. And in each case, when there is an increase, what happens is the demand then increases, and therefore your demand curve will move up and to the right. When there is a decrease, the demand decreases, and therefore the quantity demanded will cause a move to the left and down on the price. Okay, supply refers to the quantity or how many suppliers are willing and able to supply to the market at a specific price. The law of supply dictates that when the price of a good increases, the supply will increase as well, and therefore when the price of a good decreases, the supply will decrease as well. Supply schedule. You will note that you tabulate the price versus the quantity supplied. When looking at the supply schedule provided, you will see that as the price increases on the left-hand side, so the quantity supplied increases on the right-hand side. Looking at a supply curve, it shows us the ratio between price and quantity supplied. It will always run from bottom left to top right, as when the price is low, quantity supplied will be low, and when the price is high, quantity supplied will be high, in line with your law of supply. So let's have a more detailed look at substitute and complementary products so that you understand the difference between the two. Okay, when looking at substitute products, as I stated, it's something that fills a similar need. So margarine and butter, for example, a change in the price of the one will have a corresponding change in the demand of the other. If I take myself, if I can find butter for really cheap, I would rather buy butter than margarine. But for as long as margarine is cheaper, I will be buying that. When looking at complementary products, we're looking at products that work together, or the one cannot work without the other. So for this example, we're talking about cell phones and SIM cards, for example, or printers and ink cartridges. So the change in the price of the one will affect the change in the demand of the other. If you look at printers, for example, a lot of people prefer buying laser printers as their cartridges last longer, although the printer is initially more expensive. Factors that influence supply includes the price of a product. Remember, the higher the price of a good, the more people will be willing to supply it because the more money you'll be able to make off it. The cost of production. Again, if it's too expensive to create and the profit margin is very low, people will tend not to want to produce said product. Improvements in technology and production methods, making it faster, easier, more efficient to produce goods means it's cheaper to produce, means more people will be willing to produce it. Number of other suppliers. If the market is overfilled with suppliers supplying a product will also not be smart. Price of substitute complementary products, and then of course government policies. Government allows us to sell, which quantities, is the extra taxation on said products. All of these things will influence the supply of the product. When looking at the quantity supply changes, an increase in price would cause a decrease in the amount demanded. However, it would cause an increase in the amount supplied. So you will note that the supply curve would move up and to the left. This is to show the quantity demanded decrease and the price increase. When there's a decrease in price, the supply curve would then move down because less suppliers will be willing to supply, and the quantity demanded would then increase, which means a move to the right. Equilibrium price is found where the demand curve and supply curve meets. It is marked with an E on the graph. When looking at market surplus versus market shortage, you will see on the graph that market surplus indicates the difference between demand and supply, where supply is more than the actual demand, while market shortage is where the demand is more than the actual supply and is found at the bottom of the graph. Your work for week 1, please do classwork assignment 3 on page 23 to 25. The pages may vary a bit, but it should be around about there. And your homework assignment 3 on page 26 to 27. Make sure that you complete this in due time. You do not have to do everything today, but by Friday you should be done.